If Taharkah Bey had driven to the state of Texas to confront Tariq Nasheed, his encounter would have ended in a different fashion. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Last night, Tariq Nasheed posted a video on Twitter alleging that he slapped YouTuber Taharkah Bey after he flew across the country to confront him. All video here is used under fair use of United States copyright law and is used in conjunction with my commentary.
Taharkah Bey just came up here to the museum. Shout out to the security up here. Shout out to this brother here. I just slapped the shit out of Taharkah Bey. All right? Did you see me slap the shit out of him? I just slapped the shit out of Taharkah Bey and ran him the fuck up out of here. Yo, that bitch Taharkah Bey just came up here to the museum. Shout out to the security up here. Shout out to this brother here. I just slapped the shit out of Taharkah Bey. All right? Did you see me slap the shit out of him? I just slapped the shit out of Taharkah Bey and ran him the fuck up out of here.
And so when I'm in the front, Tariq swings around in like a black Denali. And I don't really talk about this type of stuff, but since he said it, I'm gonna call it out. So he swings around in a black Denali. So I walks up to his truck. When he swings around, I walks up to his truck. I say, oh yeah, you ready to talk about this like a man? And he said, what you doing in front of my place? And I backed up a little bit. I said,
Now, according to the events presented on Twitter, Taharkah Bey allegedly had an issue with Tariq Nasheed, and he was so in his feelings about Tariq Nasheed that he decided to go out, spend money on a plane ticket in Baltimore, fly all the way from Baltimore to California, 3,000 miles away, and then bought a rental vehicle, drove all the way to Tariq Nasheed's property where he has his Hidden Colors Museum, and then went to approach Tariq Nasheed on his property. Now, after approaching Tariq Nasheed once on his property, allegedly Taharkah Bey then confronted Tariq Nasheed once again and accosted him, and that is when Tariq Nasheed then allegedly slapped Taharkah Bey. Now, when I take a critical examination of Taharkah Bey's alleged behavior, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Taharkah Bey possibly could be a man in crisis, because oftentimes when it comes down to beta males, they don't understand the concept of boundaries. Now, the reason why many of these beta males do not understand the concept of boundaries is due to the dysfunctional way they are raised by their single mothers. And oftentimes a beta male will see his mother chasing her boyfriend or her child's father out here as related to getting the last word. And that's what it looks like to me that Taharkah Bey was trying to do with Tariq Nasheed. Because usually on social media, if a person disagrees with another person on social media, what they will do is just block that individual, unfriend them if they are on a place like Facebook, or if they're following them on a place like Twitter, and they will keep it moving. Usually, most people, if they have an issue with someone online, what they will do is put a period at the end of things with that individual, because they understand that their time is precious and their time is something that they can't get back. And because they understand that their time is precious and something that they can't get back, they don't want to waste it going into a back and forth with an individual that they disagree with. Unfortunately, with beta males, because they live in a rose-colored reality where the world looks like our world and everything is completely distorted, what they do is they don't understand the concept of boundaries. They don't understand the concept of leaving someone alone because they're so caught up in their feelings of, in some cases, envy and jealousy towards an individual. What they will do when that individual cuts off the conversation is try to escalate things into an argument, and what they want to do is get that last word by any means necessary. And that's what I believe was the motivation for Taharkah Bey to go to the extreme of going to the airport, buying tickets in Baltimore where he lived, and going to fly 3,000 miles away to California where Tariq Nasheed was, go over to get a rental car, drive to the Hidden Colors Museum where Tariq Nasheed is building up his museum, and go to confront him. This is how extreme a beta male is. And again, this behavior just shows how this individual really has no real grasp of reality or any sort of grasp of boundaries, because only a person who is just completely has no self-control and is so caught up in their emotions about being right would go out here and spend their hard-earned money on plane tickets, which is really expensive, spend your money on airfare, hotels, all to confront a man you have a disagreement with 3,000 miles away. But this isn't the first time I've seen beta males go to this extreme. Recently, I talked about a guy who flew 3,000 miles away to kill someone. And that's how crazy these beta males are, and this is how extreme they are as related to their behavior. Because again, these men do not know where the line is. No, all they know are their feelings, and once they get caught up in their feelings, what they do is go to these kind of extremes, looking to get in somebody's face because they're gonna get the last word. But once Tariq Nasheed was confronted by this individual, he had every right to defend himself, because when a person flies 3,000 miles away to get in your face, again, and you've told them to leave you alone, they've already violated the law, which was trespassing, because when somebody tells you to leave their property and that you don't want to engage them, this is where you are trespassing, and they have a right to defend themselves. Now, Tariq Nasheed lives in California, a blue state, and Taharkah Bey, as I see it, is lucky that Tariq lives in California, because if he went to Florida or Texas, he would have every right to stand his ground, and he would have every right to take out a firearm to defend himself. So he's lucky that he was only slapped and forced to run, because this could have ended in a much worse fashion, and it could have ended in a much worse fashion because Tariq Nasheed would have every right to take out a firearm once he tells him to leave his property, because Taharkah Bey would be considered to be trespassing on his property, and he would be considered to be a threat to him because he's stepping on his property and refusing to leave. And this is something, again, beta males don't think about, because they're caught up in their feelings, and they're so caught up in their feelings about getting that last word that they're not thinking about more important intangibles such as their health, their safety, and their freedom. Any other man out here, when they have an issue with another man on social media, they're going to say, look, there are more important things for me to focus on than an issue I have with somebody online. It ain't that serious. I'm just going to put a period at the end of things, as related to things. If I have an issue, I'm just going to block that individual and forget that they even exist. I'm going to unsub their content if they're on a platform like YouTube. That's what healthy adults go out here and do. Unfortunately, beta males don't understand how to do this, because with the beta male, again, he has the thinking process of a female, and because he's caught up in his feelings about trying to prove his point, he will escalate his behavior to go to extremes. And when he goes to these extremes, it can be very dangerous, because what Taharkah Bey was participating in was stalking, and he had gone from cyber stalking Tariq Nasheed to going and finding out where he worked, and then went to physical stalking. So we have seen this with many of these beta males, and I talk about this in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. These guys, they escalate their behavior, and again, extremely dangerous to deal with, because again, we have an individual who's gone from cyber stalking a guy he follows on social media to escalating his behavior to actual stalking of an individual. And if I were Tariq Nasheed, I would be taking this seriously, because if this guy would go to this extreme, he may even go as far as looking to dox Tariq Nasheed, find out where his home is, and then looking to go to his home, looking to harass him and his family. So I would advise Tariq Nasheed to definitely go to the police department, definitely file a police report, and then after you file a police report, go out and get a restraining order against this individual, because Taharkah Bey, based on his alleged actions, has participated in not only trespassing on his property, but has participated in stalking. And from my numerous years studying beta males and their behavior, I can tell you that with beta males, unless you shut them down early, they will continue to escalate their behavior. So you have to go out and contact law enforcement to deal with this individual, because he may have slapped him as related to defending himself, and this may have made Taharkah Bey scurry away. But I know from experience and research that beta males never really stop, because many beta males, again, do not understand the concept of boundaries. Because if Taharkah Bey understood the concept of boundaries, he would have just stayed on his keyboard, and he would have charged Tariq Nasheed to the game. But oftentimes with beta males, they fixate on individuals, and they fixate on individuals because they are sometimes jealous of an individual, and because they're jealous of that individual, they want to hurt that individual. And that's what they do with these confrontations. They're looking to hurt an individual, or let that person know that they need to be afraid of them. But you have to go out here and stand up for yourself as a man, and you have to set a hard boundary. And Tariq did set a hard boundary by slapping this individual. And again, he's only, as he said, slapped this individual because this guy is lucky he didn't get punched out, and if he was lucky that he wasn't living in a red state where he would have gotten possibly shot, because in that red state or with another individual, they would not have gone. They would have gone and let him know that there was a line that they're going to let him know where it is, and if he pushes again, this is going to be the end for him. Now, again, when I look at this behavior by Taharkah Bey, it just shows me how the late David Carroll was absolutely right about the dysfunctional state of some black males out here. And I remember when he talked about how Tommy Sotomayor confronted Tariq Nasheed, and how black men as a collective took an L that day. And we are taking another L again, because we have another black male who doesn't understand how he is embarrassing other black men, how he is tarnishing the image of black men, because this black male, because he does not know how to conflict resolve, what he's doing is making all of us black men look bad. Because when you have a male who will go out here, take his own hard-earned money and fly halfway across the country, 3,000 miles from the East Coast to the West Coast, to argue with another man, that shows that that male has no discipline, that male has no self-control, that male has no understanding of where boundaries are, that male does not know how to self-regulate, he does not know how to conflict resolve. These are natural male life skills that every black man should have, but this male who is supposed to be having his own sort of so-called pro-black platform shows us how dysfunctional he is, because a pro-black man who's supposed to be about elevating the black male image, he's not going to be getting into it with another man. No, he's going to say, okay, I'm going to leave whatever he's saying there. I'm going to leave what he's doing over there, and I'm going to go out here and put a period at the end of things. And what's really disturbing, again, is that even if this person's doing this for clout chasing, again, not really a good thing, because you making the collective of black men look bad by participating in this behavior and obsessing over another man on social media. Because healthy men do not obsess over what another man is doing to the point where they're going to where they are. No, healthy men focus on themselves. They focus on what they're going to do, and they leave another man's business to himself. They don't worry about another man. They go out here and take care of their own business. And again, when we look at this whole situation, again, it's really troubling, because if this could have gone really bad for either Tariq or Taharkah Bey. I mean, Tariq had every right to defend himself, and if this guy had continued to press, he might have wound up in a body bag. But when I'm looking at this behavior again, it's a lot like what I talk about in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, when I talk about the extreme behavior that the cyber simp participates in, because the cyber simp, because they're so invested in the virtual world, they don't understand that in the real world, your actions have consequences, because they're caught up in the bubble of the internet. And because they're caught up in the bubble of the internet, what they think is that, oh, what's going on in the virtual space of cyberspace is real. But the whole thing is that what happens in cyberspace should stay in cyberspace, because there are consequences for a person's actions in the real world. And that's one of the lessons that Taharkah Bey learned when he got in Tariq Nasheed's face. He learned a hard lesson, and this whole incident, again, is a hard lesson of what happens when a cyber simp goes online, tries to get in another man's face. And again, this behavior really shows me that this guy possibly could be suspect, because only a suspect dude is going to go to these extremes to confront a man who we don't even know. Because again, I follow a lot of people on Twitter. I do live streams with a lot of different people. I don't really know any of those people. All I'm trying to do is, again, build a brand similar to what Tariq Nasheed is doing. And it's, again, quite troubling to me, because I've run into this kind of behavior. I remember in 2019 running into this kind of behavior with these so-called passport bros. And it shows me how dangerous these kind of guys are, because it's clear to me these guys really, they need somebody to sit down and talk to them about the concept of boundaries, because you've got individuals looking to cross lines that could lead to them possibly winding up getting caught up with a felony charge and wind up on the road to heading into a penitentiary, where they're going to run into Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave, and they're going to turn them out for commissary like Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Taster's Choice coffee, packets of Crystal Light, Kit Kat candy bar, 6-pack Oreo cookies, ice cream sandwiches, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, and as they're getting their tight end turned into a wide receiver, they're sitting there wondering, oh, how did I wind up here? Well, you wound up here because you went into a virtual world, got into it with a dude in a virtual space, not understanding there are real world consequences for getting into real people's faces, because if you get into real people's faces, you might not just deal with a slap, you may run into a guy with a heater. And again, this whole situation really shows me that we have a whole bunch of men online who talk about they're supposed to be out here talking about black empowerment, when in actuality they're just beta males who are men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to beta males participating in this type of stalking behavior, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also pick up The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker at online booksellers today.